How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to be showing you guys 20 Valk spots in under 10 minutes that are going to help you win more games than rank. Okay guys, for the first camera spot, you're going to want to do this on Coastline. In Aquarium, you can actually put a cam underneath this sofa right here. You have to do it from Office. I'm going to show you how to do it. So if you're right here, just come underneath. You're going to see the sofa like right here. Just shoot all the wooden panel that's in the way. And you're going to want to make sure the camera lands right underneath the sofa. And as you can see any attackers, or they're coming from the double door and aqua or from luggage side as well. And this camera is going to be very hard to see from attacker's point of view. As you can see from an attacker's point of view, the camera is very hard to see in the sofa right there. I know exactly where to look. The camera's right there, but from an attacker, they're not gonna be looking in that direction for a camera. Same thing if you're coming from the aqua door. The camera's not really visible from the sofa, so this camera should stay up pretty much the whole round. Alright guys, another cool spot you guys can use in Coastline is in Sunrise. Sunrise is pretty common for attackers to come from, especially when you're defending upstairs in hookah and in kitchen as well. So I think the best spot to put a cam here would be between these trays right here behind the bar. So you just want to put the Valk cam like this. And as you can see from an attacker's point of view, it's going to be kind of difficult to notice, but it's not completely invisible. But trust me, they're not going to be looking for a camera specifically right there, especially when you're not hard pinging them, because that way they don't know that they're being seen. But using this camera right here, you can see most of Sunrise. You can hear people if they're nearby. You can see if there's people coming in from the door that leads outside, or you could even hear if someone jumps in from the window outside as well. So one of my favorite cameras to use in Oregon, especially if you're defending second floor, it's going to be right here. You're going to want to put it right here. I like using this because you can see two places at once. You can see if anyone's coming from attic, whether it's the wall or the window, and you can also see a little bit into the bedroom as well. So let me show you. With this camera, as you can see all the attic, and then you can see a little bit into trophy as well if you move the camera around. But this is basically gonna help you see from two different angles, so you don't need to have one person watching both of these places at all times. You can just use the camera, and this camera is gonna be very difficult for attackers to see as well. If you're coming from the window, the lights are gonna be in the way, so the camera's not gonna be easy to see. Same thing if you're in trophy, the lights are gonna kind of help you keep that camera hidden, so the attackers won't be able to see it. All right guys, the other cam spot I like to use a lot in Oregon is when you're playing basement. You can put a camera right here between the pipes. It's actually going to blend in really well. You can see if anyone's coming down the stairs in freezer, and you can basically see the whole room from here, so you don't need to have someone playing it. Obviously, if you want, you can. I'm just letting you know. And just to give you a heads up, from this angle, this camera's not necessarily invisible, but it's going to be kind of difficult to see. Attackers won't think there's a camera there most of the time. They'll just be focused on this one and just shoot it. Obviously, just be aware whenever you're on the camera, just don't hard ping. But from this angle, it's not entirely invisible, but it's kind of difficult to see if they know where they're looking. Another good Valk cam spot you guys can use, but this time in border, if you guys are defending armor, you can put one right here where the soft ping is. This is going to work really well just because it blends in with the light, and attackers are not really going to look at there for the camera if they're being spotted. So I'm just going to show you guys. So coming from an attacker's point of view, if they're coming in outside right by armory, you can see the camera is going to be very difficult to see, and that's if they have the right way of where to look. But regardless, with this camera, you can see the walk-in, and you can see a little bit also from attackers coming in from top metal, and you can see a little bit into A as well, especially if you have this wall opened up. Another cam you guys can use in border, this time if you guys are defending tellers, you can put a Valk cam right here on the speaker right here. This is going to blend in really well just because it looks like it's the part of the actual speaker. And with this camera, you can see all the waiting room. You can see if people are coming in from passport, customs, and you can see people if they're on the catwalk as well. And just to show you guys and give you guys perspective, if attackers are here, the camera's practically going to be invisible, especially if they're coming from passport as well. Just be careful when you're on the cam and don't hard ping, obviously. And even from the catwalk, the camera is going to be very difficult to see. Whenever they shoot default, you can just put one on this box. Literally, it's really simple to set up. But the reason why I like to put it here, because with this camera, you can see a lot. You can see the door if anyone comes from outside. You can see if anyone's coming in from oil pit below, and you can see if people are trying to go up red as well from this angle, or they're just coming into garage. And this camera works really well, and it's going to be difficult for attackers to see wherever they're coming from. From this angle, they're not going to be able to see the camera just because of the fence if they're coming from the door. The camera's not going to be visible at all if they're coming from lounge, just because it blends in with the back black box. Even if they breach the wall, they can't even see the camera because it's very difficult to see from here. All right guys, the other camera I like to use a lot in Clubhouse is for the kitchen. So you're going to want to put this camera right here. This camera is actually going to be invisible. You can't see it from the attacker's point of view. And what's really great about about this, if they're trying to get the hatch, you can still see the attackers from this angle because you can see where I'm standing right by the hatch. And you could also see a little bit further out as well over here. So if you're playing below with a C4, you can also just put a pre-place, and whenever someone steps near that area, just detonate it. Okay guys, the camera I like to use for consulate is for this hallway right here. If you're defending upstairs, there's definitely going to be attackers coming in from office side. So this hallway, you're going to get people. So I like to put the camera right by the plant right here, just like this, just because it's difficult to see from afar away. And as you can see this is going to be in the way a little bit, but you can cover the entire hallway, and you can see if there is anyone coming up the stairs or out of office or break room. You can see a little bit into the skylight as well whenever attackers enter that room. And this camera is gonna do a really good job. Okay guys, if you guys are playing garage, a good camera I like to use personally is right here. I just shoot the windows out and put the camera right there in the car. With this camera, you can see pretty much the whole room. The car is obviously like in the way a little bit, but you can still see if there's people nearby, hear them as well. And this camera is going to be really good whenever attackers open this wall, and they're not going to think twice to look inside the car for a camera. And just to give you guys a perspective, if this wall gets open, you can see the camera's not visible at all, and they're not going to be looking inside the car for a camera. Okay guys, the other Valk cam spot I like to use is for square. You can actually just put this right by the base of this lamp right here. This camera is going to work so well just because you cannot see it from here, and if attackers, most of the time they will come through this door right here, and from the camera you can literally see all the top square, all the windows on the right side of the room, and you can also see if there's someone on the skylight. And most of the time they're going to be trying to get this wall open or just attacking from this area anyway, and this camera is going to give you a lot of good intel. All right guys, for this camera you're going to want to put in lobby. This is really good in bank because lobby is a huge room, and since it's super open, you guys can pretty much see the entire room from here. So I just like to put it in this lamp right here. With this camera you can see the whole entire lobby. You can see there's people repelling up outside the windows as well, and this camera is going to be very difficult to see for any attackers perhaps coming up the stairs, any attackers also coming in through the main door by ATMs. The camera is just not going to be really easy to spot, and honestly just be careful when you're on it. Don't hard ping because then they're going to know they're being watched, especially if they shot the default, which is going to be right here. So just keep that in mind. Okay guys, for canal, this camera works really well for the second floor. If they open the wall, you can just put a camera right here. Just the lighting of this room is going to help the camera conceal itself. So from this point of view, you can see literally the whole site. You can see the breach if they open it and they walk through. You can see the door that comes from the red hallway. You can see a little bit if they walk in from skylight, and there's also gonna be a hole in this wall, so you can also see B as well. But this camera is gonna work really well if they're trying to get inside A when the breach is open, perhaps plant. You can just play below with a C4 and just stop that from happening. Okay guys, the camera I like to use a lot, you've probably seen this camera all the time. Maybe you've done it. If so, that's good. But for those who you have not seen it or haven't tried, you can just put a camera on the printer right here. This is really good if you're playing basement. This camera is going to help you see all the attackers that come from this area, and you could also put a pre-place on the ground whenever they're in the area and just detonate it, and that'll get you a free kill. But as you can see, attackers who either jump from the window or just come through the main door, this camera is going to be very difficult to see since it's inside the printer. Okay guys, first camera spot that you're going to want to use for cafe, you can put it right underneath this desk and bakery. This is going to work really well. As you can see, this camera is not visible from the main door for attackers, but if you get on the camera you can clearly see them, and you'll be able to hear if there's people on the other side of bakery as well. This camera is going to do a really good job, and if used properly, this should stay up the whole round. All right, for the next camera, I like to put this in dining room. This camera is going to work really well. You can see the whole hallway all the way down there, and you can see this area as well if there's people near the bar. So just put it underneath the table like that, and as you can see, this camera is going to help you see all the way down there. And what's really great about this camera, it hides pretty well from far away, so they're not going to think of it to look over there for a camera. All right guys, another good camera spot you guys can use is actually for the living room. So if you guys are defending basement, living room is always going to be common for attackers to go through just to get the hatch and just play vert and push through the main stairs. You can put a camera right here on this light, and it's going to blend in really well because there's also a plant in the way. With this camera you can see all the main lobby. You can even see the window from the catwalk and the main door as well. So this camera is going to do a really good job of helping you guys out through the round, and you guys should be able to win. Attackers aren't going to think twice to look in this area anyway. This camera is basically invisible from this point, from the main door, so this camera should stay up the whole round. All right, guys, a really good camera spot you guys can use for chalet is in the hallway right outside library. This one's pretty good. It's definitely, I always use it, and attackers usually don't find it. And attackers are coming up from the stairs. It's not necessarily invisible, but they just don't think twice to look there for a camera. So, and it kind of blends in well because the vines do a little bit of a job of hiding it. But with this camera, you can see all library if someone's in there. You can see if they push out to the hallway or if they're coming from the main door by the catwalk. And if attackers are up here, they're not gonna really look back to see if there's a camera. And as you can see, it's kind of far away, so you can't. It's not that noticeable, but not invisible. But if you just use it properly, this camera works really well. All right, if you guys are defending skyscraper, you guys can put a camera right by the light right here. As you can see, it's really difficult to see even by how close I am. You can see all the drums here, and then if you even have this wall open, you can obviously see into the next room as well. But attackers coming from terrorists, they're not gonna be able to see the camera, or they're just coming from the hallway right outside sight. It's not gonna be easy to find. The other spot I use pretty common is in geisha. You can actually just put this camera underneath this table right here. That is gonna work really well. With this camera, you can see the jump in if anyone jumps from the double window. A lot of attackers like opening the single wall right here that leads outside as well. So you could also see that from the camera. And say attackers open this wall, as you can see, the camera is not going to be visible just because of how far away it is, and it just works really well underneath that table. Even from the jump in, you can't even see the camera pretty much, but then if you get on the camera, you can clearly see a little bit of my silhouette, so you can see if there's an attacker in the room. If you guys end up liking the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let me know in the comments down below what other videos you guys want to see.